Welcome back, everyone. This is Harrison, and welcome to Harrison's Excel Academy. Today, we're going to take a look into the if function, which is our first discussion of many conditional functions that Excel has to offer. The best way to learn about the if function and how to use it is through an example. So let's jump right into it. Here I have a small data set of employee names, their start date, and their yearly salary. For an easy example of how to use the if function, we can write the function to display greater if the person makes more than $100,000 a year, or less if a person makes less than $100,000 a year. So to get started, we can click on the function button up in the near the function bar, and we can start by choosing the if function that we want to use. You can also start by typing the equal sign in the cell and type if and an open parentheses. It's the same thing. So in this first argument, it says the logical test. So the logical test description, is any value or expression that can be evaluated to true or false? So to check if the person makes more or less than $100,000, we can click on the cell yearly salary directly left, and then we can do if the salary is greater than 100,000, and then in the value if true, so if the value in the cell is greater than $100,000, we want to display greater. So we can type in quotes GREATER. And then if it's less than $100,000, we want to display less than. So we can put in quotes less than. And so then we can just click OK, and you can see that greater has been displayed here because 173,000 is greater than 100,000. And so now we could type the same formula in for all these cells, or we could use our shortcut key by double-clicking on the bottom right corner, and it will drop it down. And so you can see that 37,000 is less than 100,000, 187 is greater, 48 is less, 105 is greater, greater. So you can see our function worked. A little more complicated example, to go a little more in depth, we can do something called nested ifs. So let's write our if function again. So if, open parenthesis. And so our logical test is going to be if this salary is greater than 100,000 again. So we click the cell, greater than 100,000. And so now if our value is true, we want to know if the value that we already know is greater than 100,000 because it's made it to this value if true argument. And so we want to know if it's greater than 100,000, is it greater than 150,000? And so we can do write another if function inside our if function. So we can do if, now we can click this cell again. So if this cell is greater than 150,000, then if that's true, we want to say, let's say extra greater. And if it's false, then we know that it's just greater than 100,000 and less than 150,000. So we can just put what we wanted before, which was greater. And you have to make sure to put it in quotes. Okay, and so we can close those parentheses to close off that if function. Click a comma to move to the next argument of our outermost if function. And now we can do another nested if to say if our salary is, we know it's going to be less than 100,000 if it's made it to this value if false argument, but now we want to check even further to see if it's less than 50,000. So we want to do less than 50,000. And I'm going to move up to the formula bar here so you can see what I'm typing. So now if in this if our yearly salary is less than 50,000, let's just put extra less. And if it's false, that means it's greater than 50,000 but less than 100,000. So we can just put what we wanted before, which was less than. And we can close that nested if and then close our outer if. And now if we click enter, we can see that this is extra greater because it's greater than 150,000. And now we can drop this down and we can see this is less than 50,000, extra less, more than 150, extra greater, less than 50,000, extra less. This is greater than 100,000 but less than 150,000, so we just have greater here, and we have extra greater. So now let's see if our extra or our regular less works. So if I can change this number to 55,000, you can see that our formula changed to just less than because it's now greater than 50,000 but less than 100,000. Thank you for watching, everyone, and joining me on this journey and learning about the if function. Stay tuned for future videos about the other conditional functions that Excel has to offer.